We are or thereabouts around about the 1 million mark if you wanted to put a turnover number on it. We're going back to around about October 2016, and at the time had far fewer units and was managing the properties with myself and an assistant. 45 maybe, around that sort. I can't quite remember exactly. By that point, my longest tenancy had run for around about 5 years. So I got quite friendly with the tenants, first name terms, they could send me a message at any time. Nice level of service for them, but obviously not great if you want to really run a business and be able to go away for a couple of weeks without being inundated with calls. The Christmas before, I remember on Boxing Day having a call. Happily, it was on one of the properties where my joint venture partner was looking after the maintenance on that one, but still I did say to him beforehand, you know, we should be looking at a better solution for a lot of this stuff, because otherwise this kind of thing can happen. And all he did was moan to me about how it had ruined his Christmas and etc, etc, which I didn't say, I told you so, but I felt like it. It just seemed the sensible thing to do, to investigate, well look, how do the professionals do it? I'd done my landlord qualifications, I considered myself to be very well up on the legislation, although just like today it was changing very quickly at the time. But it was then about how am I going to go from 40 or 50 units to 400 or 500 units, if that's what I want to do, to beyond that, if I haven't got a proper machine behind me that is looking after all the potential issues. So I saw an advert on Facebook for what at the time was Property Agent Circle. I went with an open mind, so I could have gone either way. Definitely had talked about potentially a cold start, and it was fairly early on into the journey that I realised actually the money you could spend on a cold start could quite easily be diverted into acquisition. Supplementary materials that were on offer were, in my opinion, enough to justify the cost of the boot camp on their own, regardless of whether the actual boot camp added any value, which it did. It was pretty much a no-brainer. I'd be stunned if there was anybody who didn't take something away from those few days. And ultimately, all the systems, the toolkit, the knowledge, the back-end resources are all there. Ultimately, you've got to do something with it. That's the nature of the beast. No one's going to do it for you. But there is a lot of support there. There's also a great community. So I've been overwhelmed with how helpful and generous with their time a lot of the other Rainmakers are. And you can't really buy that. It's not an easy network to just plug yourself into. I'm used to buying property assets that are below their full potential. So it was the turning of that to agencies, not just properties, that made a lot of sense. So the first one came about due to an opportunity I heard about through my own network. I just saw the opportunity, the door was half open and I put my foot in there and just asked a few of the relevant questions really. I now have a share in a primarily lettings agency in the East Midlands, which has got 300 odd units under management. I have a share in a primarily sales agency based in Solihull, where I live, which has only got several dozen units under management. And I've also got an in-house team that manage my own portfolio, which is myself and a small group of investors, which is around 170 units. So if you looked at the monetary value of the agencies, in terms of if we were to sell them in the current market, would be say 350k, but that doesn't include any of the sales pipeline revenue, which in the one agency is now north of 400k this year. You know, one of the things I love about lettings is you can get paid twice or even 3 times for taking a property on board. So we are or thereabouts around about the 1 million mark, and there's, as I say, I think there's scope to do quite a lot more as well, which is the exciting thing. It's nice to know you can have a quality, licensed, bonded, qualified system behind you. So you can say, oh, I've got a property, there you go, bye, I'm off to buy another property. That's kind of how it works a lot more these days, which, you know, 2.5 years ago, that would have been a bit more of a pipe dream, to be honest with you.
This is someone who 18 months ago wasn't even a letting agent. Please make loads of noise for the one and only Mr. Adam Lawrence!